What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Now, I want to talk about a couple of headlines I came across right quick. Now, we discussed the other day, I covered an article talking about Trump's tariffs. They're going to damage the economy, and I'm arguing, like, well, that's kind of not the point of tariffs, right? Like, there's something beyond what the tariff just is. And check this out right quick, y'all. Just to make my point clear, activists say Mexican authorities have broken up 2 migrant caravans heading to the U.S. Oh, imagine that. Oh, what do we have here? Mexican troops seize a record fentanyl haul in northern Sinaloa state. That is right, y'all. That is right. So this just goes to my point. They're a negotiating tactic, right? You got Mexico over here doing some untoward stuff that it should not be doing. And so what does Trump do? He's not even in office yet, y'all. Not even in office yet, and he's already creating change to better our country. They're stopping drugs coming across that southern border. They're stopping caravans that are going to come across our border illegally. This is just great. He's not even freaking in office yet, right? We already have a ceasefire with Lebanon, right? Not us, obviously, but Israel does. Hamas is backing down. He put out a statement the other day talking about, there's going to be hell to pay if y'all still have those hostages by the time he comes into office. It's like, what is going on? Hopefully we get those hostages back, right? And we can see a quick and, a swift end to that war over there in Gaza, a swift end to Russia's invasion into Ukraine. Sorry. Well, I could say Ukraine's invasion into Russia as well, because as we know they did, but that's neither here nor there, and that's not what we're even talking about today. But before we get into that right quick, I'm going to ask a favor from you guys. Do me a big favor and smash that like button for me. I know sometimes you forget, sometimes you're paying attention to the video, sometimes you just click off the video and say, screw it, who cares? But do me that favor and smash that like button for me. And if you're new around here and like to stay up to date with how you're being manipulated, which, by the way, my next video is going to be heavy on corporate press manipulations, subscribe to this channel if you don't mind. I would be greatly appreciative of that gesture if you could do that for me. Subscribe, share this video anywhere and everywhere you can, because that's the only way I'm going to be able to grow, is through you guys, and I need y'all's help to do that. So if y'all could share this video, tell your friends, tell your family, blah blah blah, you get it, whatever. It would really help out a lot, and I would really appreciate it, y'all. But let's get into the news right quick, because that's what you're here for, right? Some news. Check this out. Johnson, no Ukraine aid on year-end spending stopgap. That is right. So we're going to see a quick end to this war. So you might ask the question, why would they send more billions of dollars to Ukraine? That's what I was wondering when I saw this headline. But let's get into it and see exactly what's going on here. Speaker Mike Johnson on Wednesday shot down the Biden administration's request to include $24 billion in Ukraine-related aid as part of an expected short-term spending bill Congress needs to pass by December 20th. The Office of Management and Budget included the funding request in a list sent to Congress late last month. The new tranche of emergency Pentagon funding would go toward furnishing weapons and equipment for Ukraine and refilling U.S. inventories. So I guess this was on Ukraine's Christmas wish list, $24 billion in assistance. Right now, as we know, a lot of this funding goes to the military-industrial complex, like that $61 billion that we sent to Ukraine. We didn't just, load up $61 billion in cash and send it to Ukraine. No, of course not. Like $40 billion of that went to replenish our stocks, but it was also to build more bullets and bombs and all kinds of stuff to ship to Ukraine. Now, they did get some billions of dollars in just essentially cash. But, the $61 billion all didn't go to Ukraine. But, it's geared toward Ukraine in a way. So, it's just another way to funnel money back into the economy. And I think, it's pretty much essentially the government doing like an inverted Robin Hood and robbing from the poor to give to the rich, in a sense. It's not really that, but in a sense, because, it's all taxpayer dollars that go to the government. And if the government is paying the military-industrial complex. Well, who benefits from that, right? The top people in the military, the military contractors, essentially. Boeing, General Dynamics, these places, Lockheed Martin, you get it. But, we're tired of funding wars in this country. A lot of people are just sick and tired of these endless wars, and we're constantly like, oh, well, we need money for this war, and we need money for this war. No, we're sick and tired of that. And hopefully Trump's going to bring that to an end, and we're already seeing the signs of change with this. Like, no, you're not getting anything out of this, and this is good. This is real good, y'all. But Johnson asked if he would attach the Ukraine-related money to what is expected to be a spending stopgap into early next year, told reporters.
I'm not planning to do that. There are developments by the hour in Ukraine. I think, as we predicted, and as I said to all of you weeks before the election, if Donald Trump is elected, it will change the dynamic of the Russia war on Ukraine. And we're seeing that happen. So it is not the place of Joe Biden to make that decision now. We have a newly elected president, and we're going to wait and take the new commander-in-chief's direction on all of that. So I don't expect any Ukraine funding to come up.
Yeah, and we know why. That's because of Trump. Congress has until December 20th to fund the government and avoid a holiday shutdown, though some Republicans are holding out hope that they can get a year-end agreement on a sweeping spending bill that would fund the government through the end of September. Both House and Senate Republicans increasingly acknowledge that they will need a stopgap. Yeah, because these people can't seem to do their jobs. This is why I always say, folks, we got to vote in our primaries. We need to get all new congressmen in Congress, aside from about 10 or 15 congressmen, because these people, they go up to Washington, D.C. to legislate. Pretty much, their job is to fund the government, to fund the federal government, and they can't seem to do that. There's always, we need a stopgap. We need a CR, a continuing resolution, basically to keep current spending levels and just add months to this and just keep everything the same with some increases here and there, right? And then the year-end stopgaps, there's always like a 1% increase all the way across the board for all the agencies. Like, no, is a 1% increase needed? Right? Like, we know for a fact, like, at least I do. I don't know if you guys know this out there, but working with government contractors, we know they talk about this all the time. They have a specific budget. If they do not spend that entire budget, they can't get increases to that budget, or they won't get the same budget. If they don't spend all that money, they won't get that same amount. Right? They can request more, and if they spent all their money, they might get it if they have good enough reasons. But if they don't spend that money, they're not going to get that same budget next year. It's going to be cut. So government agencies do this. They just spend money on retarded stuff, just dumb stuff that they really shouldn't spend money on. And this is why we have $1.8 trillion deficit spending, folks, because we have a spending problem. They think, we can just continue to print money and everything will be okay. Well, no, that's not how this thing works. That is not how this works at all, right? Like, you can do that, and they have been doing that for a while, but it's like, if you continue to do this and just continually raise the debt ceiling, we're going to spend our way into oblivion. At some point, our interest payments are going to catch up and then outpace what we take in revenue. And, that's going to be a big problem, because then what do we be doing? We'll be paying all of our taxes to pay for interest for what the previous generation spent. Yeah, well, I don't think that's a good idea, folks. That's one surefire way to run your freaking government right into the ground. You don't want a government to go bankrupt, do you? No, that's not a very good idea, and we don't want this. But let's keep going. Johnson told reporters this week that he expects that the bill will go into March, though other Republicans want it to go into January, which they argue will help them quickly turn to Trump's larger legislative agenda. Yeah, I happen to agree with that. I think I said agenda. I meant to say agenda. Sorry about that. But yeah, I happen to agree with that. I think when Trump comes in, he's going to look to all his department heads and say, look, we need some spending cuts. You need to lower them budgets, because $1.8 trillion deficit spending is insane, and we can't agree with this. Hopefully that's what he does. That's what my hope is. That's what I would do if I come in. I would tell all my department heads, look, you guys need to cut $1.8 trillion. Split it up evenly, whatever you got to do, but we got to cut this down. We need to have a zero deficit. I don't care what you got to do. Cut out some of this garbage, some of this pork, some of this BS. We don't need it. That's what I would do, but that's way too logical for any politician to do. Right? They say, oh, no, we can't do that. We've got to have funding for this, and we got to have funding for that. No, we don't, as a matter of fact. We don't, but that's not how they see it. Oh, we don't want to cut NASA's budget. Well, actually, now that I think about that, we kind of don't want to cut NASA's budget, because NASA's budget is like 1/10 of 1% of 1 penny or something like that. It's like tiny compared to the rest of the federal budget. It's small. We'll put it that way. Johnson is expected to need Democratic help to fund the government, given a handful of House Republicans who tend to oppose any short-term funding bills. Johnson met the members of the Freedom Caucus on Tuesday night about this spending bill, with conservatives raising concerns about attaching disaster relief money unless it is paid for. That is right. Yeah, they spend money, and where does that money come from? Oh, well, we just print the money. Yeah, we need to stop doing that, y'all. Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who was Speaker Mike Johnson's loudest House GOP critic this past year, told Politico in an interview Wednesday that she plans to officially back him for a full term as Speaker. The Georgia firebrand, who led the charge to oust Johnson earlier this year, said that while her past criticism of the GOP leader is definitely warranted, the two have worked to repair our relationship. The floor vote for Speaker is scheduled for January 3rd. Yeah, you notice they just edged this in there. I'm not sure why they did that. And then they lied. She didn't lead the charge to oust him. She wrote up the motion to vacate, but never filed that motion to vacate. So there was no charge. So what the hell are they even talking about here? But once again, this is just another manipulation by the corporate press to manipulate you into thinking, oh, Johnson's in hot water over here. Marjorie Taylor Greene's going to oust him. No, she backs him currently, right? That was a ploy. That was a threat, essentially. Like, you need to stop with all these continuing resolutions because they're garbage. We need to get our act together, do our job. Right? These appropriations, they're not that hard to work out, right? These people have dozens of staffers to write up all this stuff, blah, 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 to get all this stuff done, but they don't do that. No, they don't do that because they are forced, essentially. Well, some of them are. Some of them don't do it. And that's the 10 or 15 or so that I say are good congressmen. People that don't take corporate PAC money. People that don't go and fundraise for these lobbying firms up in Washington, D.C. Right? But that's what most of your congressmen, it's almost guaranteed that your congressman spends most of their time buttering up to these lobbyists, buttering up to donors to get money to stay in good standing, essentially. If you ever hear them say, oh, I'm a congressman in good standing, that's what they mean. They've buttered themselves up to donors to raise money for the RNC or the DNC, one of the two, or to raise money for this or to raise money for that. That's what your congressmen do. They're not legislators. They're fundraisers. That's all they do. That's the majority of their job. So instead of legislating, instead of making your life better, what do? They make the rich richer at the expense of you because they don't vote in your interests. They vote in the lobby's interests. These lobby groups, they take these people out to dinner and butter them up, say, oh, well, we'll give you this and we'll give you that. And they're not supposed to, right? We need to take the lobby interests out of Washington, D.C. I don't think that should be a thing. I don't think there should be entire firms, entire departments of some of these large corporations that all they do is lobby Congress. That's insane. And you say it with me, it's absurd, right? It's insanely absurd. That's what I think, though. But that's what they do. And it just blows my mind that these people can go back to their home districts and still rally support and get people to vote for them. It blows my mind that they can still do that with a straight face. right? Show me a politician and I'll show you a liar. That's how the saying goes, right? Or show me a lawyer and I'll show you a liar. But it works with politicians interchangeably. It doesn't matter because most politicians are lawyers. Why is that? Why? Because they're making laws, or they're supposed to be. But they don't generally do that. Most congressmen, they'll write up these laws, and the laws or whatever, they will never see a floor vote. Never. They write up laws all the time, but never see a floor vote. I wonder why that is. I wonder what they're doing. Why do they do this if they know it's never going to get a vote? I don't know. Just I needed to get that off my chest right quick, y'all. But hopefully Mike Johnson sticks to his guns on this one, and we don't get more deficit spending to fund a war in Ukraine. And hopefully Trump can bring this war to an end swiftly, so we don't need to fund a foreign war anymore. Let me know what you think in the comment section about all this, though, because I don't think, funding war is a good thing. Don't know if you do, but let me know what you think. That's all I got for this one. I want to thank everybody for watching. And y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.